So, there's one. A few days ago, we made a video talking about the Detroit Red Wings and how much Lucas Raymond is going to be signed for. There still are a few other names that Stevie Y has to get his grubby little paws on to sign that dotted line, but earlier this morning we got the news that one of them has been knocked off. And, oh, I just realized how badly that sounds. No, he's not dead, everybody. He has actually signed. The Red Wings announced today that they have signed forward Michael Rasmussen to a 4-year contract extension with an AAV of $3.2 million a year. And if you go over to some of the replies, people are happy about this. It's a pretty good deal. But you do have AFP Analytics that goes out there and responds directly saying, while this buys an extra UFA year, we view this as a little bit of an overpay for Rasmussen. Ideally, he is in your bottom 6, and he hasn't been great from an advanced metric standpoint. And you can see that some of the comparable players are not worth $3.4 million a year. Lance Boma, Connor Brown, Barbashev. I mean, Barbashev's doing pretty alright, not gonna lie. Mason Appleton has had a few good days as well. But there are people going out there and saying, yeah, no, sorry, stop. Like, don't say that. This is an okay signing. Why are you going out there and saying this is not great? Michael Rasmussen is an interesting player in that just a few years ago, do y'all remember where he was? Don't you remember the fire sale that everybody was going over and talking about when it came to Rasmussen after he was taken by the Wings in the 2017 draft and he made his debut with the team shortly after? There were conversations talking about the progression and whether or not he was actually good enough to stick around and whether he would continue to grow and develop, and he had this limbo where he wasn't really growing. But then last year, we saw him get 29 points in 56 games played. That's a really good number. Do the math on that. 29, divvy 56, multiplied out by 82. That's a 42-point pace that Rasmussen was scoring at last year. Now, this season, he's got 23 points in 55 games, on pace for fewer than 42 points, about 34 on the season, but you're really starting to see the intangible qualities of what made Rasmussen so good in junior bring themselves out in the NHL. Not necessarily the point production, like, of course, there's a reason he was taken in the 9th overall spot, and it's not just because he's a big dude from Surrey, but in these days with the WHL's Tri-City Americans, he was a very good point producer. He was a consistent point-per-game guy. And then in the playoffs in 2017-18, he absolutely went off. 33 points in 14 games played. He was over 2 points a game in that playoff run. So Rasmussen definitely did have an offensive ceiling to his game. It's just, as his career has gone on, you're starting to see more so of the intangibles, the leadership, the driving to the net, the forcing things out in front. He's been playing with a lot more confidence, and he's been looking a lot better because of it. Now, I'm not going to go out there and say that $3.2 million is like the cheapest contract in the world. It's certainly something that you have to pay attention to, especially at 4 years long. If there is a world where Michael Rasmussen goes out there and becomes more so of just a regular bottom 6 guy who gets, let's say, 20 points a year like he did a few seasons ago, then $3.4 million a year seems like a little bit of an overpay. But if we were getting more of the Rasmussen we had seen last year, 40-point pace, consistent 35, 40-point guy, and he brings all those leadership and tangible qualities too, whilst being a big 6'6", 212 guy that plays like he's 6'6", 212, then all of a sudden, this contract looks like a pretty good one, especially if you have Rasmussen hovering around the third line, you're giving him a little bit of power play time. If he's able to utilize those minutes in a meaningful way, then all of a sudden 3.4 mil looks very, very good. Or 3.2 mil. Have I been saying 3.4 mil this entire time? 3.2 mil, excuse me. $200,000 is not insignificant. So if you go over to Rasmussen and his overall profile, I mean, he was making 1.4 for the past 3 seasons, and he'll be making 3.2, expanding upon that. Honestly, at 1.4 mil, that was huge value for the guy that you saw last year. Heck, even this year, you could say 1.4 is huge value for what he has been. But of course, this guy is getting older. He is becoming more experienced at the NHL level, 24 years old now. So giving him the bag like this on a short-term bridge deal that will take him till he's 27 years old, if Rasmussen is able to show off that he can belong on this team and get those 40, 50-point seasons, let's say he grows to a 55-point guy, then all of a sudden that $3.2 million extension looks like a steal. And based off of the way that he's slowly progressed, you know, this is more of a slow burn in Rasmussen. We didn't see immediate success in his profile like we had done with Seider, Raymond, other guys that have made their debuts and become great. But because there's been such a slow marinating path for Rasmussen, it feels a little bit cathartic seeing him be able to lock himself up for this amount of money. $12.8 million, of course, is not insignificant. But if you go over to the Detroit Red Wings and you talk about some of the guys they still need to re-sign, you do have some pretty interesting names. David Perron at $4.75 needs a contract. Patrick Kane, of course, he needs a contract. Sprong is one of the guys here that I think a lot of Wings fans are sort of licking their lips at when it comes to being able to sign him for an extended amount of time. Michael Rasmussen making 3.2, pretty good. Honestly, like, the fact that he accepted 3.2, where guys like Robbie Fabry, for example, he's making 4. David Perron, 4.75. JT Compher's making 5.1. Andrew Kopp's making 5.6. The fact that Rasmussen was like, okay, fine, pay me less money than all these guys. That's a pretty big move. Pretty big baller and great sort of team aspect move, because realistically, if Rasmussen went out there and asked for more money than all of those guys, I think it would have been pretty fair. Sure, he has like less points than a lot of these players, but the fact is he's younger, he's playing lower down in the lineup. Like, he's got more points than Robbie Fabry. He's got pretty much the same amount of points as Andrew Kopp. So he had all the ammo in the world to go out there and say, hey, Kopp's making $5.6 million. Give me $5.6 million. Like, we're kind of equal in terms of point production. So the fact that he went 3.2 till 2028, that's pretty solid, honestly. The Red Wings just have to make sure that they allow Rasmussen to grow and pretty much outplay that dollar amount that he's gotten this year, especially considering we know that he can. He had a 40-point pace season last year. If he can do that and add on a little bit more, then this contract could look like a steal. You just gotta hope that he doesn't really maximize his value and round out as more of a bottom six guy who gets 20 points a season, rather than growing instead. So there is a lot of progression here that we could hope that Rasmussen exhibits that'll make this contract worth it. Right now, I think it's all right, but this also plays into the conversation of all the other guys, because Raymond still does need a contract, Veleno needs a contract, Moritz Seider needs a contract, and this is going to be interesting to follow as the days go on here. So Stevie Y definitely does have his work cut out for him, especially considering the projected $26 million in cap space the team has for next year. That's a lot of names. You have to sign a contract with $26 million. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the entire Red Wings cap structure, as well as the signing of Michael Rasmussen, $3.2 million a year. It's a very interesting extension. It has the potential to be great. What are your thoughts about this signing? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this British 9, and bye.